Hello and welcome back to the Fandom Face-Off. This week
Mm,
we have two brand new fandoms coming at you. The
yes, we do.
Whovians versus the Film Bros.
The
Whovians,
Who?
of course, are fans of Doctor Who, the British sci-fi masterpiece. And Film Bros are them guys on Twitter who say, "Have you never seen Pulp Fiction?" um, no bias at all, though.
none given there at all. No.
My first nerd love was Doctor Who.
Fair.
Like when Doctor Who relaunched in 2005, my dad had grown up watching it. It hadn't been on the air for like 20 years. They were bringing it
Mm.
back. He was like, "We're gonna sit down and we're gonna fucking watch this on Saturday." And then your man was running around fighting aliens in London with Billy Piper, and I was like, "I'm sold. No, this is life. I love it." Um,
I definitely do remember watching the David Tennant era a lot more.
David Tennant was a whole other level of just bringing a fandom out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
After David Tennant and like the first season of Matt Smith, I stopped watching. Just because I got to that age and I was like, oh, girls don't like Doctor Who, so I'm not gonna watch it anymore. And then I got a girlfriend, and 8 years later, I was like, I should really catch up on Doctor Who. So I binge watched and caught up on everything, and it was class. Fucking love that show.
Fair.
I'll fight anyone. Right, size.
Mm.
Now I feel like this is quite a difficult one to work out.
Yeah, because we've got.
Whovians are quite large, but
Mm.
how do we classify the size of Film Bros?
See, here's the thing. Whovians is quite large, but we also have the same issue as Harry Potter, which is we have a bit of regency bias.
Oh yeah,
Is it?
and Doctor Who definitely isn't as large outside the UK as Harry Potter is.
No. Whereas Film Bros, I mean, I feel like that's every film student ever because they had to watch things like Pulp Fiction. So they've been
Okay, so
told that that's
how
like
many
cinema.
people study film every year?
I feel like, obviously, don't get me wrong, there's probably plenty of people that do film studies that aren't film bros. But I feel like there's a good portion of film study students that become film bros.
Hmm. I feel like just because of the nature of it, we have to give Film Bros the size W. Because anyone who's like proper into a director, I would class as a film bro.
Hmm.
So it'd be like all of the Tarantino fans, all of the Spielberg fans, all of Scorsese fans, all the Del Toro fans, all of them.
Yeah. I think there's more people that have seen those like classic films that the film bros love, like you said, like you just listed off, that than there is global Whovians.
So I think it's fair to say size is probably more towards film bros,
Yeah.
but we'll see. Dedication, Whovians.
I mean, yeah, they've been with it for what, 13
Yeah.
Doctors now?
The film bros are dedicated to being assholes for sure.
And they're dedicated to their director.
Yeah. Whovians, I don't give a fuck. And I mean this in like a really good way for Doctor Who. They'll watch anything, and I don't mean like that means Doctor Who just like puts out slop.
Hmm.
But the Whovians like, no, you get freaky, you try some shit. We'll give it a go. We'll let you know, and that allows just so much creative freedom. They're like, okay, we're gonna try some shit.
And you've got to look at it like they've stuck with, a lot of them have stuck with Doctor Who for what? Is it 13 Doctors now?
15
Oh,
technically.
it's 15.
So
I'm
Jodie
so
Whittaker was
behind.
13.
Right.
Then David Tennant came back, and he was 14.
Oh, okay. So I
And now,
was.
yeah, and now we're on Ncuti Gatwa, who is the 15th Doctor.
I gotcha.
But it's
Technical.
complicated
Okay, yeah.
because there's also
But
the War Doctor, and I'm not sure if he's including the numbers.
okay,
And there's also the Doctor before the Doctor knew they were the Doctor, who we've
fair.
seen. It's
So
technical.
as you can see, plenty of doctors, and then you've
Yes.
also got the sub dedication of like, this is my doctor.
Yes.
I will fight anyone who says their doctor is better.
Yeah. The dedication is off the charts. I I'm so excited for the new series. I'm trying to convince Hori to consider watching the specials that have come out to see if we cover the new series of Doctor Who. So everyone put pressure on him in the comments. It's like 3 hours to watch the new stuff and see if you vibe. Like, and that's before you even get onto all the different cast of side characters with the different I almost said apprentices then, companions.
Yeah.
Who come and go at different times, and everyone is just like, I will fight for all of these characters. It's they've built such like a family feeling vibe amongst the characters that people can attach themselves to that family. So when someone new comes into the TARDIS, the fandom adopts them instantly. Like, yes, welcome, you are one of us.
Yeah. I think like going back to the whole people pick their doctor because it's the generational doctor they grew up. Like they're very clever with how they've done that. That they essentially make each generation gets their own, and it's like everything about this one and their companions is ours. We must protect.
Absolutely. Film bros are pretty dedicated, but bearing in mind we're lumping in all the different directors.
Yeah, they're dedicated to their director.
Yeah, but they're also not like willing, like we just said about Doctor Who. They're so dedicated. They're like, try some stuff. We'll let you know what we think. Film bros just want their favorite director to re-release their favorite film again and again and again and again.
Yeah. Or like they'll watch anything new by their director, but they're like, oh, anything by someone else is less. It might be good, but it's not as good.
They use the phrase magnum opus unironically.
Yeah, a lot.
Toxicity.
I feel like this is quite easy.
I am willing to go on record as saying I think the Whovians might be one of the least toxic fan bases I've ever interacted with.
Yeah, I can't think of like I've never seen anything online where they've been somewhat toxic or come across
in the Christmas special, minus spoilers, sorry, because I know you're going to watch it. One of the characters' daughters is trans. So you had a bunch of Doctor Who fans who watched the original show in the 60s trying to complain that the Doctor had gone woke. And that was the most toxic thing I'd ever seen. And the response was the rest of the fandom collectively slapping them in the face, going, shut the fuck up. Doctor Who has always been for whoever wants it. The Doctor literally can change race and change gender and change his face and everything. What do you mean?
If anything, Doctor Who himself is the pure embodiment of like gender fluidity.
They discussed it on the show about 4 years ago when Peter Capaldi was still the Doctor. He had a gay companion.
Yeah.
And she went, so who are you into then? He's like, guys, girls, whoever, I don't care. And she's like, oh, Time Lords are just like that. They don't really care. He's like, yeah, we're millennia older than your tiny little species. Do you think we're still hung up on things like gender?
Yeah.
It's so, like, they've never tried to hide that this show is woke as fuck. Even back in the 60s, it was progressive for the time.
Yeah, so
it's always been Sci-Fi is inherently progressive.
Yeah, it is.
If you don't understand that, I hate to break it to you. Your media literacy's in the bin.
Yeah.
Film bros are crazy toxic.
Yeah. You don't need to even say that when you just say film bros. People are like, I bet they are.
Yeah. It's not a surprise.
No. Not at all.
It's dreadful. Like some of the things I've seen film bros say, it's just like, but why?
Yeah, and they're so. It goes back to like their dedication to their director, but it's like they will like shit over great films just because it's not by their director.
Yeah,
it's just like
what? So do you know what it is? It brings me back to the way Robert Downey Jr.'s been treated. So he's finished his stint in the MCU. He's come out. He's done Oppenheimer. He has smashed it. He's winning all the awards. He's probably going to win some more with the Oscars coming up.
Yep.
And in one of his speeches for one of the awards, I can't remember which, he's won so many this award season. He goes, after my career was on the ropes for 10 years, Chris Nolan took a chance on me and gave me this role, and now I'm winning awards.
Mhm.
And film bros are so dense, they unironically thought he was actually slamming the MCU. When in reality, he was slamming them because his entire point was I was acting and I was doing some really good acting for that entire time.
Mhm.
But because it wasn't these films that are award bait, not like I'm saying Oppenheimer's award bait, it is a very
Yeah.
good film. But because he wasn't doing award bait films,
Yeah.
he was seen as someone who couldn't act anymore.
Mhm.
But
It's
I'm not
wild.
being funny. I'm not being funny. Have you ever met anyone who's seen The Revenant? The film that won DiCaprio his Oscar?
I want to say
I,
maybe some of my family members
I don't
watched
think
it,
I've
but
ever met
like
anyone who's seen that film.
I haven't seen it. I can't think. Probably one of my family members has because it was on a streaming service. But like,
Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's a good or a bad film. I haven't seen it. I can't comment. But what I am saying is, at the height of Marvel, when everyone was all in, that was so much fun. The Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out or whatever, and then at school or at work the next day, everyone was like, "Have you seen it yet?"
yeah,
Fucking class. Midnight showings were packed to the rim. You
mm,
would go to a midnight showing at midnight on a Thursday.
yeah,
You'd see people in full on cosplay. You'd see parents with their kids. You'd see dads who've brought out their two like 10, 11-year-olds. And he's like going, "Don't tell your mother." It was class. It was the most communal spirit I've ever felt. And it was like, yeah, let's do this. Are the MCU films as good as stuff like Oppenheimer? No. But they created a more fun community.
yeah. They did.
And that's why Film Bros toxic as fuck. Infighting.
I feel like the level of infighting that the Whovians have is my doctor's the better doctor.
So you say that, and there is that to an extent. But in my experience, what it would tend to be is I like Tennant,
Mm.
but someone will go, "Oh, I prefer Matt Smith," and they'll be like, "I liked what Matt Smith did here, here, and here," and they'll talk about the things they liked about the other person's doctor instead of trying to say why their doctor's better.
Yeah, I do agree. I think it is more leaning towards the thing of David Tennant's my favorite doctor, and someone else will go, mine's Matt Smith, and neither of them are trying to be like you're wrong, but they'll be like, no, David Tennant's still my favorite. It's always like it's never quite, but that's the level of infighting it reaches. Is just like picking favorites.
And a lot of the time, like all the discussion is just around like, "Oh, what I liked about Capaldi was this, this, and this, but I didn't like this and this, and that's why this is my favorite Doctor." That instead of fighting, a lot of the time they just reason their own. They just give reasons for their own opinion instead of attacking other people's opinion, and that always creates the healthiest discourse.
I think the closest to infighting I've seen recently was about sonic screwdriver designs.
Yeah, that I will give you that. When Shooty's design got released, a lot of people were like, "That is not a sonic screwdriver," and a lot of people were like, "They're trying shit." Let
Yeah,
them
and also
try
it's like
shit.
it's a sci-fi tool. Like it can be whatever the fuck it wants to be.
Do you want to know my only issue with it?
Well,
I saw it and I instantly thought of the remote control from Click.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't like it. I do prefer this. I mean, I don't know where they are. I have about 9 sonic screwdrivers. So like I would say I'm well versed in a sonic screwdriver. It just didn't give sonic screwdriver vibes, but it's not the end of the world. You don't see it enough for it to actually matter. The infighting on the Film Bro side though is crazy.
Well, it's my director's better than your director.
Yeah. And it is attacking other people's preferences instead of just saying why it's your preference. It's the complete opposite of the Whovians. It's to go, "Oh, I like Scorsese for this, and this reason." They're like, "Oh, you like Tarantino? He's obsessed with feet. What, you a foot weirdo?"
Yeah, it's so like, oh, you only like that director in those films because everybody else says you should like them. I like my director. It's like I like my director because he actually makes art, and I appreciate it. And it's like, well, gosh, shut up! You're just doing the same thing as all the others.
You actually nailed it on the head there. Despite choosing some of the most popular directors in history, they like to act like they are the only.
They understand it at a different level.
Yeah,
to you.
yeah. It's such a oh, I'm unique. I'm the only Quentin Tarantino fan in the world. It's like, no, he's one of the most successful directors ever. What do you mean? What do you mean?
I feel like
Yeah,
that
no.
bleeds into the next category of weirdness as well.
So we've established over the last few episodes of this that weirdness comes in two ways. You've got harmless weirdness
Mm-hmm.
and harmful weirdness.
Mm-hmm.
Whovians might be king of the harmless weirdness.
Yeah.
They will turn up in the most elaborate costumes. They have the most insane collections. Unironically, I don't think I have them all anymore. At one point, I had 16 TARDISes.
Jeez.
This was like very much when I was a child.
Fair.
And like that was still seen as like a tiny collection that amounted to nothing. Like
Yeah.
Whovians are very weird, but in that very harmless, like, oh, they're autistic way because they're just so obsessed with this.
Yeah, they'll over collect things. And
yeah, they're just like, I must. Oh, that's a slight TARDIS in a different color, mine, and I get it.
Mhm.
But have a conversation with them. There's some I've never met anyone who likes Doctor Who to like a level where you consider them part of the fandom who isn't an absolute sweetheart.
I can't say I've really interacted
I mean,
much, but yeah.
People who've met me can probably say I've met someone who's not a sweetheart who's a Whovian, but that's fine. And then Film Bros are very much on the harmful weird side.
Yeah. Goes back to the whole, I know this at a different level.
Yeah, they just want to belittle everything that's not their preferred thing.
Yeah, it just gets a bit weird how much they start to make it their personality as well. It's like, okay, you're going a bit.
My favourite thing to do when Film Bros are film broing is just going, chill, he's not going to fuck you, dude. Because they're always so misogynistic as well. And that pisses them off. That like Film Bros are like really homophobic and misogynistic, and like that's what I think. That's why they end up being Film Bros.
Yeah,
so, yeah, we are straight men. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, I'm just gonna claim that you want to shag the director, and that's just gonna piss you off in every way. And that, I mean, maybe that's my toxic trait. I like to piss people off when they deserve it.
But yeah, they get a bit too obsessed with the director. It gets a bit weird.
Yeah, we like we've said with every fandom to an extent is a little bit too obsessive. But you don't have to be an asshole about it.
You can be obsessed with a fandom, but you don't have to start making it everything about your personality and attacking people that
Put it
don't
this way.
like that.
You'll look at like anime conventions and you'll look at them and you're like, these people look weird. But most of them give off the harmless weird energy.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I wouldn't feel uncomfortable talking to you. You're just a bit weird because you're like 35 and you're wearing neon bright colours. Like you stand out from a million miles away, which just isn't common. Whereas very much Film Bros just like, everything you like is trash because I don't like it. I'm deep. Do you know what it is? It's the
There's no harmless weird to the Film Bros.
It was either Dylan or Cole Sprouse did a podcast about a year ago now, where they've got like 3 buttons undone on their shirt and they're smoking the whole time. And they're using these big long words in the wrong context.
Oh dear.
Well, I'm pretty sure at one point he uses pretentious in the wrong context.
Oh dear.
Just like film buzzwords just being thrown out there, and all of them just make no coherent sense. And it's just like, you are like, I just know Film Bros were watching that going, he's so based, he gets it. I was like, oh, I just despise it. Films are art, but they're art in the sense of, you know, art should be nice to look at. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's like you can do what like a film student would do and break it down and understand why things are done, but you don't have to like start saying everything else is terrible and everything else is wrong and not as good. That's like, okay, you've gone too far.
It's okay to like something just because it's pretty.
Yeah. That's why I watch Marvel.
Exactly. That's the person who is going to do this podcast. I get to stare at you.
I stare at myself.
Based. Preference. I mean, I'm an unabashed Whovian and I hate Film Bros.
I'm a Film Bro.
100%.
I would very much prefer to be a Whovian, even though haven't watched it since probably the David Tennant era. Really, I've seen bits here and there.
We're going to bring a Whovian arc.
I can appreciate the films that the film bros love so much, but I'm nowhere near like what I
Yeah.
associate with them.
It's almost a case of I don't like saying I'm into films because I don't want people to assume I'm a film bro.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Whereas every other fandom, I'm not like scared to admit I'm a part of it, even though
No.
I know it's got a bad reputation. Like Star Wars.
Yeah,
Although Star Wars has a very publicly bad reputation, I'm not ashamed to admit I like Star Wars.
no.
Because
I
like
get
you've
you.
got litmus tests to very quickly work out if this is a bad Star Wars fan or a good Star Wars fan. I feel like if you're like, yeah, I'm really into films, people are just gonna be like, oh, you're a dick.
I know what
Like
you mean.
it's just
I know what you
it's
mean.
what it is.
Yeah.
Right, let's top this shit up.
Yes, let's.
Size went to Film Bros.
It did.
Dedication, Whovians.
Yeah, I would say so.
Toxicity, Whovians are nowhere near as toxic.
Yep.
2-1 to the Whovians. Infighting. I would say the infighting is actually at a similar level, but it's just so much more polite with the Whovians, and they don't attack each
Yeah,
other.
I see. I wouldn't have put. I'd say the Whovians is much better. Like
Yeah,
the
it's more
infighting is a lot.
discussion.
Yeah, it's a lot lighter of infighting.
Yeah.
So that would be a point. to that.
Internal squabbling.
Yes.
So that makes it 3-1 to the Whovians.
Mhm.
Weirdness is without a doubt Film Bros,
Yeah.
which makes it 4-1 Whovians.
Yep.
And preference is Whovians by a mile, making it a nice 5-1 win
It's like a
for the
landslide.
Whovians. I mean, we're not shocked. It was
No.
another one that was put in here just to dunk on someone, let's be honest.
Yeah, it really was.
Whovians,
To call people
but
out.
we have now got our 2 semi-finals.
Oh.
Marvel versus Harry Potter
Mm-hmm.
and Disney adults versus Whovians.
I feel like they're the same people.
I mean, yeah, I was about to say, how did Disney adults get through? But they're up against Schneider cultists.
Yeah.
Keck W. That would have actually been a more interesting one. Film Bros versus Schneider cultists. I don't even know who would have got through there.
Oh, I don't want to think about that. That would have been. We would just say no to both.
But that is it for this week's
Yes.
Fandom Face-Off. If you haven't already, click the like button, click the subscribe button. We will catch you next week for another one.
Yes, we will.